Bird's working on the main gas tank now. You sure you want it in front of the cockpit?
Slim's idea. It's a good one.
Well, if I crash land, I just don't want to be sandwiched in between the engine and all that gas.
You'll be flying in a blind cockpit. You won't see where you're going.
We got a window on each side, don't you remember?
Well, suppose you let us set this in the instrument panel. It's a sort of a periscope. It's just a couple of mirrors in a box. Old man Randolph designed it. Help you look ahead. Might even help you landing.
How much it weigh?
Nothing, a couple of pounds.
What do you think, Don?
I think we can stand it.
All right, put it in.
How about the radio?
No, we've decided against it.
No radio?
No.
Byrd, Chamberlain, Worcester, and Davis are all taking
Yes,
radios.
but they have big planes. We can't afford the weight.
I suppose a sextant is all you need
No,
anyway.
no, we can't use a sextant. You can't operate a sextant and fly an airplane at the same time.
How are you going to navigate?
Dead reckoning. I take up a compass heading of 65 degrees out of New York. Keep correcting the heading every 100 miles.
What happens over the water?
Over the water, I keep watching the waves, see which direction the wind's blowing, allow for the drift.
And hope the Lord will do the rest.
No, I never bother the Lord. I'll do the rest.
Might need a little help up there, don't you think?
Only get in the way.
Here are the details for the shock absorbers. We better get going. We're way behind. Worcester and Davis are ready for their test flights.
Maybe we started too late.
Well, let's keep plugging anyway.
Frank, we said we could do the job in 90 days or less. Let's do it in less.
How much less?
A lot less.
Look, we can only do so much. Okay. Let me talk to the men downstairs. I'll ask them to go on a 24-hour schedule.
April 28th. 63 days from the afternoon haul traced the Spirit's outline in the sand. We hauled the Spirit out to Dutch Flats for her tests. They're overdue, aren't they?
About 8 hours.
Well, any report?
A couple. One that they crash landed somewhere in Newfoundland, another that a British ship picked him up at sea. Nobody really knows.
As the 40th hour since their takeoff from Paris approached, it became horrifyingly certain that somewhere out over the North Atlantic a tragedy was being enacted.
Hi, Slim.
Was it a lack of gasoline which brought down the craft of the dauntless Frenchman, or some other unlooked-for mishap? Aviation experts believe that ice forming on the wings in the cold, rainy region east of Newfoundland may have plunged Nungesser and Coley into the windswept sea. Meanwhile, at Roosevelt Field, Long Island, New York, Clarence Chamberlain and Commander Byrd, unshaken by the fate which has overtaken the French aces, are going ahead with their own preparations. As soon as they're ready, they will launch their planes on the long, mysterious air road to Paris, which by now has claimed the lives of so many flyers. There's also a bulletin from San Diego, California, that an airmail pilot, Charles A. Lindbergh, has left for New York to enter his plane in the transatlantic race.